Remember when the Premier League was pure magic? When weekends meant thrillers, unmissable moments, and a kind of football that made you fall in love with the game all over again. That era, often dubbed as Prime Barclays, was a golden age. An unstoppable juggernaut of excitement and drama. From the breathtaking individual flair of players like Adel Taarabt and Hatem Ben Arfa to the one-season wonders like Michu and Roque Santa Cruz, the Premier League was a captivating showcase of footballing brilliance. But fast forward to today, the game looks and feels a little bit different. Some people say it's lost its soul, but why is that? We're going to explore 5 key reasons, in my opinion, why the Premier League isn't quite what it used to be. So strap in, grab some food, get a cup of tea, and let's deep dive into why I think the Premier League has drastically changed from Prime Barclays to the tactical takeover. Welcome back to the Jack Durkin YouTube channel. I hope you're all doing very, very well. Today, a different style of video. No rankings, no tiers. We're going to be deep diving into a bit of Premier League history. Now, all of this is in my opinion. That intro was very serious. This video isn't going to be very serious. It's all my feelings. It's all my thoughts. All over Twitter this week, all over Twitter the past 2 weeks, it's been Barclays Men. The hashtag has been going around. Nostalgic videos of Premier League underappreciated players. They've been going absolutely crazy. I'm all for them. But it got me thinking a little bit. Why do we not have players like that anymore? Now, we definitely do have world-class players and potentially the best players we've ever seen in the Premier League. But it just doesn't feel the same as it used to. So I've narrowed it down to 5 reasons, in my personal opinion, why I think the Premier League has gone from Prime Barclays to a tactical takeover. If you enjoy the video, leave a like, drop a comment. This is what I want this video to do. I want to spark a conversation. Let me know if there's anything that I've missed. Let me know if there's anything that you disagree with, that you agree with. Am I talking absolute rubbish? Don't get me wrong. I love the Premier League. The Premier League is the best league in the world. It's phenomenal. The skill, the talent is still there. I just feel like it's changed, and I want to explore the reasons why. Please subscribe if you're new around here. Without further ado, let's get into my first reason as to why the Premier League is not the same. Reason number 1, Pep Guardiola. Now, I'm just going to start this segment by saying I think that Pep Guardiola is the best manager to have ever graced the game. I think he's the best Premier League manager. I think he's the best manager overall. The amount of trophies that he's won, the clubs that he's done it at, and I know a lot of people are going to say he's had the transfer budget. That is true. But his style of play is studied by pretty much every manager now. He's evolved football into a completely different game. Everybody almost replicates the way he plays. And I think this is the reason why the Premier League is not as good as it used to be. Now, it's no secret that Pep Guardiola's style of play is very tactical. He gets players that will play in that position and fit the system perfectly. One side of me is like, that's fantastic scouting. He knows who he wants. He goes and gets them. But one side of me is, I want flair. I want players that we don't know about. I want players that aren't going to just fit the system. Get a player that's a bit of a risk. I feel like that's what we're missing now. Pep Guardiola goes out and gets who he wants. Very robotic, very athletic. I don't feel now it's as much how good of a footballer they are. It's more of, do they fit the bill? The athleticism, the speed. And don't get me wrong, the way that the game has evolved, it fits that. But I feel like we're missing the individual flair players that aren't athletically brilliant, aren't incredibly intelligent. I miss a thick footballer, which is mental to say because we still have thick footballers, obviously, Cole Palmer being one. Like I touched on, everybody has sort of copied his style of play, playing out from the back, doing it in a systematic approach, and explains why the Premier League is very similar now. It's almost a case of treading on eggshells when people have got the balls. They're waiting for a mistake. They're waiting for that moment rather than going out and expressing themselves and being the one to take the game to the team. They're waiting for someone to move the chess piece the wrong direction or do something a little bit wrong. And part of me is like, it's genius because obviously it takes a lot of skill, it takes a lot of know-how to be able to find those pockets, to be able to find the times where people make mistakes. But the other side of me wants the players to take the game to the opposition. Everybody plays with inverted fullbacks. That came around since Pep Guardiola. And don't get me wrong, it's worked a treat quite clearly, but now everybody does it. Everybody plays the same way. I want something different. I want a maverick. And if we look at teams that were mavericks in the past few seasons, we come to probably Luton Town last year, and that is about it. I mean, I know that the end result was they got relegated, but watching Luton Town last year, for me, was a breath of fresh air. It was old school football, Route 1 Rovers. But Luton were the first team in a long time to sort of revert to old ways and almost be like a fuck you to Pep Guardiola's style of play and saying we can still do this by going Route 1. We can still do this by playing to the big man. And ultimately, it didn't work. But a breath of fresh air for entertainment, a breath of fresh air for the spectator, and probably a breath breath of fresh air for a lot of teams that played him as well, because they're not having to worry about stepping out of position and one person making that run in that tiny little square metre of a position is going to make a difference. What they're actually worrying about is winning your tackles, winning your battles, winning the first header, winning the second ball. That's what that was about, and I loved that for the Premier League. It made it much, much more entertaining and exciting. Reason number 2, no longer being the best at football. Now, this is a bit of a vague one, but I'll go into specifics. We don't see many Mavericks again. We don't see many Mavericks anymore. We don't see many flair players, one-season wonders, players who can light up a game like they used to be. You had your Michus, your Kubus, your Belassis, your Alanos, your Tarats, your Ben Arthurs. Players also nowadays, they don't stay at clubs anymore. They get a paycheck and they go. And listen, if it was me, I'd do the exact same thing. But you had players that would stay at clubs back in the day. You had players that would be the best player, the man that every fan loved, that everyone looked up to, and they didn't just disappear unless a big boy came in, like a Madrid, a Barcelona, somewhere in their home country that maybe they wanted to go to. And that's probably another reason that I haven't got on this list for the downfall of the Premier League. It's the money. It's how easy it is to be swayed to one team, how easy it is to be swayed to another country. That is an issue, obviously. But back to this reason of being the best at football, I feel like we've lost the individual brilliance of footballers. Long-range goals, worldies. Do we see many of them anymore? Is it a common thing? The last worldie I can think of is Enciso's goal for Brighton against Manchester City, where I'm sure he won Premier League goal of the season. But in like 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, that was happening every week. There's a very, very famous goal of the month, and I think it's from 2007. And the goal of the month options are absolutely scandalous. And obviously a reason to counter-argument this point is nostalgia. Nostalgia is massive in football. We all think that everything was better back in the day, and it probably counteracts every single point I'm making this. But regardless of that, I just don't feel like it happens anymore. We don't have brilliant teams of individuals either. Now we look at Man City and the cohesion in the group is amazing, and obviously that is so important to win titles and trophies. But we don't have teams like Portsmouth, when they had Benjani, they had Kevin Prince Boateng, they had Asamoah, they had Peter Crouch, Defoe, Cranchar. That era, we don't have that anymore. We don't have teams like Pardew's, Newcastle with Papi Cisse, Demba Ba, Hassan Ben Arfa, Johan Cabaye. There was players just oozing Premier League class, Barclays class, and I don't think we have that anymore. And I think the past few days on Twitter has made me think about these players more, and it's an exact reason why I've done this video. But if I look at teams today, I can't see that in the Premier League. I don't see a team of unique individuals, of Mavericks. I know I'm using that term quite a lot, but I don't see it. Whether or not in 10 years' time I'll look back on it and think, oh, well, I was wrong. There were teams like that. And listen, I probably will. There's going to be a lot of comments that tell me I will do that, and I'm sure that I will. But right now, I just feel like it's different. Reason number 3, competition. Now, competition is obviously always ridiculously high in the Premier League. It's elite level sport. Everybody wants to win. The standard of the teams, the standard of the players nowadays is so high. The margin of error is ridiculously small. But what do I mean by competition? I mean tackles. I mean derbies. I mean hatred towards players, hatred towards clubs. Every club nowadays is woke. There's no sort of bit of banter. There's no sort of give him a bit of shit. You look at 10, 15 years ago, players used to hate the opposition players. And nowadays everybody's friends. And that's class on one hand. We've seen it with the England squad. Everyone's now friends. The England squad has evolved and become a much better team. But the Premier League has lost a bit. There's very little tunnel scraps. There's very little handbags on the pitch that we used to get. There's very little tackles where you go to crunch someone because you can't nowadays. Another reason I think the competition is nowhere near as good is we have too many games. And don't get me wrong, their lifestyle is phenomenal. I don't feel sorry for them whatsoever. If I was in their shoes, fine. Make me play as many games a season as you want. If I'm getting 300 grand a week, let me do it. Make me do it. Whatever. I'm happy for it. But we've lost that quality as a spectator from the players. The players are tired. The players haven't got it in their legs. One thing this season already that I've seen is Haaland and Mohamed Salah. They didn't have anything over the summer. They've both started the season unbelievably well. And listen, they're world-class footballers anyway. So if you'd have put them in a major tournament, they'd probably still have had a very decent start to the season. But we've seen, with a bit of rest, with a bit of recovery, with a bit of recuperation, they're ready to hit the ground running at the start of the Premier League. And we've seen that in the first 3 games. And who knows, there are still derbies, there are still rivalries. We do still see it. But the mid-table games nowadays are so boring. I used to love watching Swansea versus QPR because you could still get a good game. Nowadays, the mid-table clashes of Bournemouth versus Wolves, it's a snooze fest. It's shit. It's boring. We need it to change. I want it to change. Bring back competition. Reason number 4, Fabrizio Romano. Now, what this man doesn't know about football is probably not worth knowing. However, I'd love it if he'd fuck off for a little bit. And I mean that in the nicest way possible, Fabrizio. If you ever stumble across this video, I mean that in the nicest way possible. I don't want to know who everyone is. I don't want to know when everyone's signing for a club. Let me find out from Gary at work. Let me find out from Steve at the pub. I want a bit of a surprise. It's very rare nowadays we see a player burst on the scene. Every single player's got a compilation video already. Every single player has been studied and heard about before they make their Premier League debut. Transfer deadline days, they're ruined. No, I don't enjoy transfer deadline days. I find out about transfers 6 weeks before they happen. I miss the days of sitting on the sofa watching Sky Sports News with the yellow breaking news pop up. Jim White in his yellow tie. I miss that. Mesut Ozil signing on deadline day for Arsenal. Peter Odemwingie driving around clubs trying to force a move. Harry Redknapp with his arm out the window. And again, it's all very nostalgic. But Fabrizio Romano, please, for one transfer window in the next 2 or 3 seasons, just disappear. Just go away. You and David Ornstein, you and the rest of the reporters, please. And I'm really not meaning it in a horrible way. You've got a job to do. I appreciate that. But let the people enjoy football for what it is once more, please. The 5th and final reason, PGMOL. Now, I think this is the hardest job in football, being a referee. But my God, refereeing, officiating in the Premier League is absolutely on its arsehole. Football's never meant to be absolutely artificially 100% bang on the money. Every decision's right. Everything is perfect. Everything is prim and proper. That's not what football's about. Football's about mistakes. Football's about them moments where you're angry at the ref, where the ref pulls out a decision for you that never should have happened. Football is about that, and we don't have that anymore. One, because of the PGMOL, one, because of the refereeing, and one, because of VAR. VAR was brought in to improve the game. VAR was brought in to make the game better. That hasn't happened, especially in the Premier League. Now, VAR goes hand in hand with the officiating, with the refereeing. The referees operate the VAR, and in England, we seem to have a lot more trouble than in any other league, than in any other country. In the Euros, it was a lot better. We saw 1 or 2 decisions where it was maybe and ahhing, but it was quicker, it was cleaner, it was easier. In the Premier League, it's still always an issue. There's still always a conversation around VAR, and it's never, ever going to stop. Back in the day, if the referee made a mistake, they'd get some shit at the weekend. They'd get some shit during the week, but people would forgive, people would forget, because it's human error. People make mistakes, and more often than not, later on in the season, a mistake will go your way that gives you a goal, that wins you 3 points. It's such a horrible situation for referees, and I do feel a bit of sympathy for them, but the standard of refereeing at the moment as well in this country is really, really poor. Howard Webb's in charge, and I'll be honest, Howard Webb, you're not doing a good job, mate. They're scared to make decisions. I miss Mike Dean just doing whatever he wants. Running around, giving yellows, giving reds, because he thinks it's the right decision, not because some bloke 200 miles away is telling him that they think it could potentially be a yellow. Let the referees referee, man. We've lost the pureness of the game. We've lost the idea that not everybody can make mistakes. And I feel like if we brought that back, people would appreciate it more. Now, look, they're my 5 reasons why I don't think the Premier League is what it used to be. Game will never be perfect. It will never be perfect. And like I've said throughout this video, the counter argument is nostalgia. Is nostalgia just the reason I'm feeling like this? Was life better? Was football better? The boots, the balls, the kits, everything. Was life just better? Potentially. But you're going to have to let me know. Let me know in the comments what you think on my reasons. Let me know what you think on the points when explained. Let me know if you think there's anything that I've missed. And let me know if you think I'm talking absolute rubbish as well. Please subscribe if you are new around here. If this is the first time stumbling upon my channel, then make sure to let me know what you think. Aside from that, everybody, it's always a pleasure, never a chore. When you leave, close the door, take it easy, and I will see you all in the next video.